Mm. Oh, sorry. Was I eating chocolate? Gosh, sorry. I'm so stressed out today. I have like meeting after meeting and all the tech is going wrong and I just needed some chocolate. Okay, just kidding. Actually, well, kidding, not kidding. I am a big fan of chocolate, and when I emotional eat and stress eat, actually, yeah, I do kind of go with the chocolate, or the ice cream, or other things that are bad for us. Why can't we stress eat broccoli, y'all? I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm Katie Kimball for Kids Cook Real Food, and this healthy parenting connector might be a little interactive. If you have something to say, throw it in the comments. We're talking today about emotional eating. And, a couple days after Valentine's Day, a big candy holiday, the day before Ash Wednesday, when a lot of people think about giving things up, it's like the Christian New Year's resolution time, right? I think it's important, and in the midst of this pandemic, I think it's important to talk about stress eating, emotional eating, and how we can help our kids avoid this, right? You guys, you know from personal experience, I am sure that it's way easier to build a good habit in the first place than it is to break a bad habit. Breaking a habit is so hard because it's two steps, right? You have to break the bad habit and try to build a new one, and it's really, really difficult. And the longer you've had that habit, the more difficult it is to break it, right? So I really believe that, especially with food, many, many habits that we have that we get stuck with start in childhood. Which means that as parents, we have a great responsibility and a great honor, a great privilege, and an opportunity to help our kids build the right habits and to help our kids build the right, neural pathways in their brain so that as they grow older, they don't have to break bad food habits, right? One of my personal examples is that sweet after eating habit. I know a lot of people share this with me. As soon as I'm done with a meal, I don't even feel complete. Do you guys do that? I don't even feel complete unless I just pop a little piece of dark chocolate into my mouth. Now, I don't know where that habit came from necessarily. I mean, we would have like a candy dish out sometimes in my house. My guess is as a kid, I'd get up from the table and grab a little bit of candy, Christmas candy, Halloween candy, Valentine's candy. Oh, I loved those cinnamon imps. Is that what they're called? Those little spicy, horrible red food coloring cinnamon flavored things. That was like my Valentine's Day jam. Um, and that habit is very, very hard to break. I've given up sugar for 40 days before. I've given up sugar for 12 weeks before. And I still whip right back to that habit. So wouldn't it be great if I didn't start that habit in the first place, right? Kim says she does the opposite. And actually, I know of someone very close to me who's the opposite. Stress causes them to stop eating. Stress causes them to not be able to eat and have good nutrition, and that's dangerous in a different way for sure. But it is kind of the reverse of emotional eating. So today we're going to talk about 3 ways to avoid emotional eating. Okay, I'm gonna give you some language to talk to your kids about what kind of hungry they're feeling and which hungries they should feed. We're gonna talk about why it's so important to give like to treat big emotions with love and care instead of food. And we're going to talk about why it's really important not to use food as rewards, right? It's all about, remember, like set your brain, like open your habits folder in your brain. What we're talking about is all about building habits. It's not about which food is healthy and unhealthy. It's about when and why we eat. And we don't want our kids to be set up to be emotional eaters, right? So, first is some language. Let's talk about some language about eating. I think it's really great, even down to little kids who are 1 and 2 and 3. You can say, they say, I'm hungry, or they say, I want some food, right? So let's talk to them about what kind of hungry they are. I'll say, I don't think you're really hungry. I think you might be bored hungry, right? 'Cause sometimes when we're bored, we want to eat. Or you might be sad hungry, or you might be worried hungry. I don't know. I don't really use the word stressed with little kids, but worried is a word, or scared hungry, right? Or is your tummy actually hungry? Does that make sense? And I think even little kids, and we can talk about it pretty much the same way with elementary kids. I don't know if you're really hungry. Like, are you just bored and looking for something to do? Because we only want to feed the hungry tummy, right? We don't want to feed the bored hungry. We don't want to feed the sad hungry. We don't want to feed the worried hungry. Okay? We only want to feed the hungry tummy. We want to feed the hungry tummy whenever it's hungry, and we want to stop when we're not hungry anymore. That makes sense? Yeah. So Anne says stressed equals desserts. Totally, totally for me, 100%. And not everyone is this way, but can you see how we want to build that habit in our kids? We want to use that language of are you bored hungry? Are you sad hungry? You're worried hungry? Or is your tummy hungry? We only want to feed, the hungry tummy, um, regardless of whether it's healthy food or unhealthy food, right? It's not about the quality of the food, it's about when and why we eat. So that's the first way that we're going to help set our kids up for good habits. Number two is that we're going to treat big emotions with emotional security blankets. Okay? When kids have big emotions, we don't want to give them food to make them feel better, right? So I did an amazing interview, and it's linked in the description here, with Dr. Dina Rose. And she said, when I would go to my kids' well child checkups and they'd get their shot and my daughter would cry and the nurse would swoop in with the sucker and I'd karate chop that sucker out of there. And I'm thinking, yeah, me too, because we don't want them to have all that sugar. And she's like, I could care less about the sucker. I did not want that nurse to train my child's brain to think that when you are hurt, you need food of any kind, especially sweets. So she'd chop that sucker out of there. She'd hug her daughter. She'd breathe with her. She'd say, I know it hurts. Mommy's here. It's okay. And then when the daughter had calmed down, she could have the sucker. And I'm like, oh, this was mind blowing to me in this interview about 2 years ago, right? So think about when your child has big emotions. Okay, and we've got such a good interview coming up with Dr. Tina Bryson where we talk about the brain and the whole brain child. And when your child has big emotions, they need to be helped on an emotional level. Okay, you're doing a real disservice when you treat big emotions with food. Okay, we like to say food is medicine. It's not medicine for the big emotions, you all, okay? It's not medicine for the big emotions. When a child has big emotions, they're hurt, they're sad, right? Their feelings are hurt. They're scared and worried. They're overwhelmed with perhaps Zoom school or, kids being mean. We need to make that security blanket humans and other emotions. Okay, and I love how Anne just put in the comments, she said, my voice is soft, right? It's flowing, and that's what our kids need if they have big emotions. They need us. Dr. Bryson said they need us to be the calm in the storm. Okay, so when your kid has a big emotion, you're going to talk in like a calm voice. You're going to give them a hug and use touch if they're open to that. Allow them to maybe hug a stuffy, right? Or stroke a soft blanket. Pretty much anything that can help calm their big emotions that's not food. Okay, because it's so strongly tied. The neurons that fire together wire together. And so the more times our kids have food with a big emotion, and by the way, this includes big positive emotions, right? If every time something really exciting happens that is a cause for celebration, if that celebration is always food, our kids, and I think many of us have grown up this way, our kids will grow to think that celebrations deserve food, and not only food, but usually the low nutrient dense junk food and sweets, isn't it? Didn't we kind of grew up this way? It's really, really hard for me to extract the idea of like fun things mean fun foods. And I know I'm probably not doing this right all the time in our own home. But we need to be cautious, right? We can at least be cognizant of this as parents. Okay, so if we want to avoid raising emotional eaters, we want to first talk about the different kinds of hungry and only feed the hungry tummy. Second, we want to make sure we treat big emotions with emotional support, with human support, not food. And third, we do want to avoid using food as rewards. How many times have you been maybe in church or at a doctor's office or, at a school event when school events happened, and you hear a parent say, if you're good, we'll go to donuts afterward, right? If you're quiet, I have a sucker for you in the car. Teachers too, right? If you get a good grade, you can pick a candy out of my basket. Oh, when we have a good day in school, everybody gets a candy at the end of the day. It's ubiquitous. It's pervasive in our culture. It's really easy to do. It feels like an easy fix to a problem that's happening, but it's really, really setting our kids up for failure. It is setting our kids up to continue to reward themselves with food as they get older and continue to see food, particularly junk food and sweets, as the only way to celebrate and the only way to solve problems. Maybe not the only way, but one of the big players, right? This is the last thing that we want to do as parents. The last thing we want to do, right? So we've got to teach our kids feed the hungry tummy, not the bored tummy, not the sad tummy. We want to treat big emotions with emotional and human support, not food. And we want to really try to avoid using food as rewards. And I know that's a hard one. I know that's a hard one, but the more we hear it, the more we hear it, the more we can internalize it. So I'm just going to be that wise person saying that. Anne has another thought here that's very interesting. I wonder how the people with younger children are dealing with now we can't go to McDonald's. Well, we can't go to Chuck E. Cheese, but they've always had, the kids have always had that yes, yes, yes. I think COVID has been quite a great interrupt for a lot of people's patterns. And for some of us, it's interrupted maybe some good healthy eating habits. Oh, girls, I can't tell you the number of people who I've talked to in the last year who said, yeah, I just do all the comfort food now. Oh, I had such a good diet and I just gave up. I could not do it in this pandemic, right? So for a lot of us, unfortunately, we've been interrupted in a maybe a negative direction and we've built some new bad habits, but there's always a fresh start. Tomorrow, today is always a new day, right? But so true, Anne, for a lot of people, COVID has interrupted maybe some overscheduling, maybe some habits that were less than ideal. So what a great time to interrupt that and to build new habits. The good thing that we know about neuroscience is that although the neurons that fire together wire together, we can rewire things. Even as adults, our brains are still growing and we can rewire the bad habits and change them to good habits. Way easier to do when our kids are little, though. And finally, before I hop off, I just want to talk a little bit because I think when we talk about emotional eating, especially moms of girls, especially moms of teen and tween girls, we worry a little bit about that diet culture, right? And when we think about our language, we worry about that diet culture and how many young women, how many young girls are going on diets. The body image mess that we have found ourselves in, particularly in America, it's pretty serious. It's pretty intense. It's causing a lot of mental health and physical health difficulties for both genders, but particularly our young girls. So how do we as parents protect our kids from that diet culture? Okay, and here is my strategy. Eat dinner together. Quite simply. It's simple but not easy. Eat dinner together as often as you can. Okay, because studies show that family dinners actually help teens eat fewer calories and less sugar. They help teens be more successful in life and feel more self-esteem, feel better about themselves because they're bonded and connected to their family. Okay, all of these benefits begin happening at just 2 family dinners a week, right? 4 is better, 5 is better yet. 7, of course, is awesome, but just 2 family dinners a week can start having these impacts. So if we want to protect our kids from diet culture, first, just eat dinner together. Okay, make it a family affair. When we think about habits, how can we make it a positive feeling to eat dinner together as a family? That's really important. And then I think we need to watch our own language. Okay, I know especially in the natural health niche, a lot of adults out there are trying different diets. They might not be to lose weight though. That's the thing, right? It's not a body image thing. It's, man, my gut is wrecked. I need a gut healing diet. But I think we can probably be cautious with our words. We can use the word protocol. We can use the word like elimination diet, right? And make sure, I just think if you happen to be on some sort of elimination diet or a gut healing protocol, or you have allergies or kids in your family have allergies, I think we just need to talk about that word diet, right? And how we're not dieting to lose weight. It has nothing to do with our body image, right? We've got to love the you see in the mirror, even if you see need for improvement. And then I just encourage you, moms, especially, but dads too, just be cautious with your language, right? Think about your semantics, think about your vocabulary, and how you can separate the idea of diet culture and body image and wanting to lose weight and be thin and be beautiful and be, look right for the other from what most of us in the natural health world are doing, which is I want to be healthy. I want to feel good. I want to have energy. I want my gut to digest my food well, right? I want to avoid foods that hurt me. Okay, so, be sure to separate those elimination diets from kind of the diet culture diet. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? This is hard, right? Parenting is hard. Nothing about parenting is easy. I'm never going to tell you it is. But the more we listen, the more we try to be intentional, the more we try to incorporate some of these ideas into our own habits as parents, the better chance our kids have, right? Better chance our kids have. And that's all we want to do is raise those healthy kids who turn into healthy, independent adults, right? Who have their own sense of self and who we are proud to send off into the world. So when it comes to emotional eating, let's think about those three strategies. First, we're going to watch our words. We're going to talk about hungry tummy and bored tummy and how we feed the hungry tummy. And we're going to watch our words about diet culture. Second, we're going to care for big emotions with emotional security blankets and human interaction and not have food be the medicine that solves those big emotions. And finally, we're going to really try to be careful not to use food as rewards and not to have junk food and sweets in particular as always the celebratory food and the time we come together. Okay, so we can do this, parents. We can raise kids who are not emotional eaters. And yeah, it's super hard. Monica's hopping in saying between alternates weekly from vegetarian, no chicken, all chicken. Oh my goodness. Whew, dealing with teens and tweens is very emotionally taxing for us as parents. So we just have to we have to make sure we're respecting their autonomy, right? And we're teaching them how to nourish their body, right? Whether you're eating chicken or not eating chicken, what are the foods that are going to make that hungry tummy not hungry anymore? Of course, that's not teen and tween language. But what are the foods that are going to satisfy our hunger? What are the foods that are going to nourish us and give us the energy that we need to do the things we want to do in the day? That's why I talk to teens and tweens. What do you want to do? Right? You want to be good at school? You want to be, a singer in the choir? Do you want to be an artist? Do you want to be an athlete? Your brain and your body need nourishment. And what are we going to put in those brains and those bodies that will help us meet our goals? Right? Does that make sense? So probably not a cereal diet. So Monica, you're in a really tough spot. My heart goes out to you. Cereal for a week, not going to kill anybody. Cereal for a year, now we're getting to an undernourished child. So I just encourage you to keep trying, keep serving lots of foods, raise the expectations that everyone eats together and everyone gets served the same meal. If cereal is going to happen, it probably should be outside of that family meal. This is where family dinners are so, so powerful. And if you've watched my talk, The Kids Meal Revolution, The Power of Teaching Kids to Cook, you've heard some of those statistics too, that family dinners are probably, if you can only do one thing this week that's new and that's an improvement for your family, sit down, eat dinner together, and make it positive, not power struggles. Okay? I'm Katie Kimball for the Healthy Parenting Connector and Kids Cook Real Food, encouraging you, inspiring you, telling you it's going to be okay. You can do this. We can raise those healthy, independent adults that we're going to enjoy hanging out with when we get older. And we can have, we can have a little piece of chocolate and enjoy that with each other and not have it be emotional eating and medicine for our wounds, right? We want to have humans be medicine for our wounds. Have a great week. If you celebrate Lent, let's make this the best Lent ever and a way to build our self-discipline and build our faith. I'm Katie Kimball for Kids Cook Real Food. Thanks, guys.